Victory is a girl who was made to become a boy all through her life by her mother just to retain her late husband's wealth and legacy. Is it worth it? Well, let's go back to the beginning. Sonia gazed at her newborn daughter, Victory, her heart swelling with love and hope for the future. She and Nnamdi had just started their life together, moving back to Lagos from Anambra after their wedding. Life was promising, and their little family was complete. Nnamdi was a busy businessman in import and export, always moving between countries to secure new deals, while Sonia ran her luxury boutique with the same passion and dedication. Despite their busy schedules, Nnamdi always found time to support her, and they eagerly awaited the arrival of their baby. When Victory was born, it was one of the happiest days of Sonia's life. But just 2 months later, tragedy struck. Nnamdi, on his way back from the airport, was involved in a fatal car accident. The news came like a storm, shattering Sonia's world. She was left alone, mourning the loss of her husband, the future they had dreamed of, and the family they were building together. Still in shock and grief, she realized there was another threat looming over her, the expectations of Nnamdi's family. The news of Nnamdi's death spread quickly back in his home village in Anambra. His family was devastated, but there was a big tension that soon took over their mourning. Whispers started circulating that Nnamdi had left behind no male heir to inherit his wealth. According to the village's traditional beliefs, a daughter couldn't inherit a father's property, only a son could carry forward the legacy. Without a son, Nnamdi's wealth should be passed down to his brothers, who could manage it appropriately. Sonia, aware of these customs, knew that her husband's family would soon make a move to secure his assets. She had heard stories of women in similar situations, stripped of their homes and left with nothing. Sonia couldn't allow that to happen to Victory. She thought about her daughter's future, her education, her opportunities, and the legacy Nnamdi had worked hard to build. She couldn't let them take everything away. It was then that she made a drastic decision, a decision that would change Victory's life forever. As Sonia looked down at her sleeping daughter, an idea began to take shape, a good but desperate one. If Victory could be presented as a son, she would inherit everything without question. In their community, appearances often held more weight than truth, and no one outside of her and Nnamdi's close circle had seen the baby yet. She could introduce Victory as a boy, just long enough to secure her future. Sonia knew it would be difficult. Her daughter would grow up in a lie, one that would impact every aspect of her life. But for Sonia, it was the only way to protect her husband's legacy and give Victory a chance to inherit what was rightfully hers. Her heart ached, knowing that Victory would face challenges she could never foresee. Yet she was firm, she would do anything to protect her daughter. With a heavy heart, Sonia took steps to transform her daughter into a victor. She carefully selected clothes that disguised any signs of femininity. She even avoided piercing her ears, a little but important choice that would help cement Victory's new identity as a boy. From that day forward, she raised her daughter as her son, keeping the truth buried deep in her heart. When Nnamdi's family finally came to Lagos to discuss his inheritance, Sonia was prepared. She introduced her child as a Victory, her late husband's only son. Her in-laws studied the infant, observing the absence of earrings and the neutral clothing, and no one questioned Sonia's word. They accepted a Victory, without dispute, convinced that Nnamdi's legacy would continue in a male line. As the family gathered to discuss how the inheritance should be managed, Sonia held her breath. Tradition dictated that the elders should take charge of Nnamdi's estate, ensuring that it remained within the family. However, because of Victory, the elders were forced to reconsider. They couldn't take away what rightfully belonged to Nnamdi's son, especially now that an heir had been presented. Reluctantly, they agreed to let Sonia manage her husband's business and estate on behalf of her son until he was of age. The relief Sonia felt was overwhelming. She had succeeded, at least for now. But as she held her daughter close that evening, she knew this was only the beginning of the sacrifices she would have to make. For Victory, she would carry this lie for as long as it took. Sonia adapted quickly to her new reality, pouring all her energy into raising Victory as a boy. She adjusted her boutique schedule to have more time at home, teaching her daughter how to behave in a way that would be seen as appropriate for a boy. She encouraged Victory to be free, to play with boyish toys, and discouraged anything that might reveal her true identity. Victory, still young, accepted her mother's teachings without question. She was naturally spirited and curious, always eager to please. In their apartment, Sonia would let Victory be herself, a sweet, playful girl with a love for dance and music. But the moment they stepped outside, Victor had to emerge. Victory learned quickly, slipping into her role as a boy with surprising ease, her mother's teachings her only guide. As the years went by, Sonia was careful to protect Victory from any outside influence that might reveal her secret. She worked tirelessly to ensure that her daughter was prepared to live this dual life. At night, she would whisper promises of a brighter future, a day when Victory could reclaim her true identity. But for now, they both had to play their parts, balancing between truth and survival. Victory grew up straddling two worlds, one in which she could embrace herself as a girl and another where she had to play the role of a boy set to inherit a legacy. Sonia was meticulous in her teaching, ensuring that her daughter understood the importance of maintaining her public identity. She even instructed Victory on how to alter her voice and mannerisms to appear more masculine. The pressure was immense, but Sonia's determination to protect her late husband's legacy fueled her resolve. At home, Sonia allowed Victory to exhibit a small glimpses of girlhood. She has dresses in the wardrobe for her to wear privately, stories about women who achieved greatness, and reassurances that her true identity was valuable and worthy. These private moments were precious to Victory, though she didn't fully understand why she couldn't express herself freely. Every outing reminded her of her public role as boy, and as she grew older, the questions she had about her true self also grew. As Victory reached adolescence, her double identity became more challenging to maintain. At home, she was free to express her natural grace and softness, but outside, she had to play a part that often felt unnatural. She noticed how the boys around her acted. They were rougher and showing bravery that didn't come naturally to her. Sonia coached her on how to mimic these behaviors, but Victory's discomfort grew each day. One afternoon, Victory joined a neighborhood game with other boys. She tried to mimic their loud, confident behavior but struggled to fully engage, feeling like an outsider. When one of the boys made a joke about girls being weak, Victory felt a pang of anger but buckled it, knowing that she had to act the part of a boy. These small moments weighed heavily on her, planting seeds of doubt and confusion about who she truly was. Inside, she felt a yearning for freedom, to be herself without restriction. But every time she tried to express this to her mother, Sonia would remind her of the importance of their secret. Victory didn't understand the full weight of it yet, but she trusted her mother's guidance. For now, she would have to keep hiding her true self, both from the world and even, at times, from herself. Entering secondary school as a boy added another layer of complexity to Victory's life. Surrounded by classmates who knew her only as a boy, Victory had to navigate friendships and activities without revealing her secret. Her mother's teachings had prepared her well, and she quickly gained a reputation as a smart, well-behaved student. She made friends easily, and her teachers admired her intelligence and kindness. However, certain challenges arose that Sonia couldn't fully prepare her for. During physical education classes, for instance, Victory was reminded of the differences she had to hide. In the changing rooms, she always found ways to be alone, either arriving early or pretending to be ill to avoid situations that might expose her. It was a difficult balance, and as Victory grew older, these small maneuvers became a daily necessity. Victory's classmates knew her as reserved yet likable, someone who avoided conflict and focused on her studies. But at home, Victory confided in her mother about the stresses of hiding her true identity. Sonia listened patiently, reassuring her that it would all be worth it one day. Despite the burdens, Victory was determined to make her mother proud, even as the strain of living a double life became harder to bear. Sonia's life became a delicate dance of protecting her daughter's future and maintaining the secret they shared. She put her heart and soul into ensuring that Victory would inherit her father's legacy, keeping up the facade at all costs. Her boutique flourished, and she used the income to support her daughter's education and future plans. However, Sonia's own life was a lonely one. Her world had shrunk to the walls of her boutique and her home, isolating herself from friends and family to avoid any questions. Every sacrifice she made was for Victory. She turned down invitations to social gatherings and avoided family events where questions might arise about her son. Even simple acts, like shopping for clothes, were complicated, as she had to buy things that fit Victory's public identity rather than her true self. Yet, Sonia never regretted her choice. She would give up anything to protect Victory's future. Late at night, when Victory was asleep, Sonia would sometimes look at an old picture of Namdi, her heart aching for the life they could have had. But she comforted herself, determined to keep going. Her daughter's happiness and security depended on her strength, and Sonia vowed to keep the truth hidden until the time was right. One morning, a routine day turned into a near disaster. Victory was playing with her classmates during break when a small cut on her leg caught the attention of a group of boys. They urged her to go to the nurse's office, but Victory hesitated, knowing that a closer examination could reveal the truth about her identity. Panicked, she brushed them off, insisting that she was fine, but her classmates grew insistent, and one boy started to drag her toward the nurse's office. Victory's heart raced as she struggled to think of a way out. At the last moment, a teacher intervened, calling the boys back to class and sparing Victory from exposure. She quickly cleaned her wound in the bathroom, shaken by how close she had come to being discovered. That evening, she told Sonia about the incident, her voice filled with fear and frustration. Sonia held her close, comforting her and reminding her of the strength and resilience they both needed to carry their secret. From that day on, Victory became even more careful, aware that any small mistake could jeopardize everything. But the incident also planted a seed of doubt. How long could she keep living like this, hiding her true self from the world? Victory was 16 when her world grew a little more complicated. Her mother's younger brother, Uncle Emeka, had recently moved back to Lagos with his family. His daughter, Cynthia, enrolled at Victory School as a senior. Cynthia, confident and lively, became popular almost immediately, her natural charisma drawing friends easily. For Victory, this added another layer of tension. Cynthia was family and could pose a risk if she ever suspected Victory's secret. Cynthia took an immediate interest in Victory, finding him reserved yet intriguing. She would often call him little cousin and made it her mission to watch out for him, encouraging him to socialize more and even helping him with his studies. Victory enjoyed Cynthia's company, but each interaction felt like walking on a thin line, as she carefully controlled her words and mannerisms to avoid suspicion. The attention was flattering, but it was also nerve-wracking. Cynthia was observant and naturally curious. She occasionally commented on Victory's shyness, joking that he was unlike most boys she knew. Victory would laugh it off, maintaining the mask of a boy, but Cynthia's presence made her aware of just how fragile her secret was. With a family member now in her school life, Victory would have to be even more vigilant. Despite the risks, Victory found herself growing close to Cynthia. Cynthia's warm and protective nature provided a sense of security that Victory had rarely felt outside her home. The two cousins developed a sister-like bond, sharing secrets, laughs, and stories about their dreams for the future. Cynthia even confided in Victory about her ambitions, her crushes, and the pressure she faced from her family to succeed. Their relationship provided Victory with a glimpse into the world she yearned for, a world where she could share her true self openly. The bond felt natural and comforting, yet bittersweet, knowing that her cousin saw only half of who she truly was. Late at night, Victory would sometimes dream about telling Cynthia the truth, imagining a day when she could be free of the burdens of secrecy. At the same time, she knew the risk was too great. If Cynthia learned the truth, it could unravel everything Sonia had sacrificed to protect. So, Victory agreed to keep her feelings and true self locked away, cherishing the friendship and sisterly bond while guarding her deeper secret. As Victory approached her final years in secondary school, her body began to change in ways that made her secret even harder to maintain. She was growing taller, her face more angular, but certain feminine features were also becoming obvious. Sonia did her best to help her hide these changes, giving her loose-fitting clothing and teaching her little ways to disguise her figure. But these measures weren't always enough. Victory's voice, too, was changing, and she worked hard to keep it low, straining to sound as masculine as possible. The effort was exhausting, and each day left her feeling more like an imposter in her own skin. Yet, she pushed through, holding on to her mother's reassurances that this sacrifice was temporary, that one day she would be free to embrace her true self. In addition to the physical changes, her classmates and teachers began expecting more masculine behavior from her. Friends teased her about dating girls, and some even tried to set her up with a few girls in school. Victory brushed it off with nervous laughter, but the pressure was mounting, leaving her with a deepening sense of isolation. Victory's once manageable secret was becoming a growing burden. Every day she put on the mask of a boy, performing a role that felt increasingly difficult and tiring. She found herself withdrawing, avoiding her classmates more often to escape their constant questions and expectations. Her mother noticed her distress and tried to offer comfort, but Victory's frustrations were difficult to soothe. Victory began asking herself questions she had never dared to confront. Why did she have to live like this? Could there ever be a day when she could just be herself? At times, she felt a growing anger toward her mother, even though she understood the reasons behind Sonia's decision. The weight of the lie felt heavier each day, and she felt herself slipping under the pressure of it all. One evening, Victory voiced her feelings to Sonia. She expressed her fear, frustration, and yearning for freedom. Sonia listened quietly, holding her daughter close, understanding the toll this double life was taking on her. She assured Victory once again that there was a purpose to this struggle and that she would one day live as herself, unhindered. Victory held on to those words, drawing strength from her mother's resolve, even though the doubts continued to linger. Victory's final year in secondary school marked a turning point. She was 17, and her life was a well-rehearsed routine, until the day her period came unexpectedly. It happened during class, a moment that would change the course of her life in ways she couldn't have anticipated. She wasn't expecting it that day and wasn't prepared, but she had a slight change in her hormones which altered the expected date. As Victory stood up to go to lunch, she heard whispers and noticed the stares, her classmates' eyes fixed on the bloodstain on the back of her uniform. Confused at first, but as she walked through the hallway the whispers increased, and she decided to confirm her fears, her heart racing with panic. In a shock, she fled to the bathroom, locking herself inside and trying to hide her tears, wondering how she could ever face her classmates again. The school authorities were soon alerted, and a teacher called Sonia to inform her of the situation. Sonia rushed to the school, her heart heavy with worry and sorrow, knowing that their carefully maintained secret was on the verge of collapse. When she found Victory in the bathroom, she embraced her tightly, calming her and promising to take care of everything. After getting Victory cleaned up and calmed down, Sonia approached the school authorities, who demanded an explanation. Sonia tried to avoid it, offering unnecessary explanations and requesting privacy, but the damage had been done. The incident had ignited gossip throughout the school, and within hours, rumors began spreading that Victory was actually a girl. Sonia was left with no choice but to explain the truth to the principal, though she pleaded for discretion. The principal, understanding the complexity of the situation, agreed to give them time to resolve the matter privately. But outside the office, whispers continued to fly, and soon, Cynthia heard the rumor herself. That evening, when Cynthia went home, she explained the day's events to her father, Uncle Emeka. He listened intently, piecing together the information and coming to a shocking conclusion that the family had been deceived. Fueled by anger and a sense of betrayal, he immediately contacted the family elders, demanding a meeting to confront Sonia and claim what he now believed to be rightfully his. The next day, Sonia was summoned to a family meeting in Emeka's house. The news had spread fast, and her in-laws were outraged. Uncle Emeka accused Sonia of manipulating the family for years, hiding the truth about Victory's identity to keep control of the businesses. He declared that tradition demanded restitution, that without a son, the family's assets would have to be returned to Nnamdi's kin. Sonia stood her ground, summoning all her strength as she defended her choices. She decided to involve their family's lawyer, who insisted that Victory was Nnamdi's rightful heir and argued that the 21st century was a time for progress, for moving beyond such restrictions. Sonia reminded them of how hard she has worked to preserve her husband's legacy, refusing to let her daughter be denied her inheritance based on tradition alone. The argument raged for hours, with the family divided between those who supported Sonia's stance and those who sided with Uncle Emeka. In the end, the family lawyer reviewed that Nnamdi had a will and he instructed him to read when his child turned 18. It was a blow to the elders, seeing that they would be stripped of Nnamdi's wealth. They were reluctant at first, but later agreed to wait until Victory turned 18, when Nnamdi's will would be officially read. The next few months were filled with tension and uncertainty, as Sonia and Victory waited, both trying to come to terms with the coming storm. With the truth exposed, Sonia knew it was time for Victory to embrace her true self openly. Sonia spent long evenings with her daughter, explaining what lay ahead and helping her prepare to reclaim her identity. They began shopping for clothes that reflected Victory's femininity, and Sonia taught her everything she could about womanhood. Victory, however, struggled to adjust. She was now thrown into a new identity that she barely understood, trying to unlearn years of habits built in her since childhood. Walking, speaking, even dressing felt foreign. She yearned for freedom but was nervous about the unfamiliarity of presenting herself as a girl. Every time she looked in the mirror, she saw someone she was still learning to understand. As difficult as the transition was, Sonia remained Victory's steadfast support. She assured her daughter that this journey, though challenging, would ultimately lead to liberation and self-acceptance. She encouraged Victory to be patient with herself, to take one step at a time, and reminded her that embracing her true identity was the first step toward a future filled with genuine self-love. The next major challenge came when Victory returned to school. Cynthia, who had spread the rumor about her cousin, now knew the truth. However, the full impact of her actions became clear when she saw how visibly uncomfortable and withdrawn Victory had become. Cynthia had always thought of her cousin as a boy, and now, fighting with her own feelings of betrayal and confusion, she found herself unsure how to approach her. Cynthia's initial reaction was one of anger and disappointment. She confronted Victory during lunch, demanding to know why she had lied all these years. Victory, nervous and still fragile in her new identity, struggled to explain the burden she had carried. She told Cynthia about the circumstances surrounding her father's death and her mother's desperation to secure her future. As Cynthia listened, her anger softened into empathy. She realized how difficult it must have been for Victory to live with such a heavy secret, and guilt filled her as she thought back on how she had spread rumors without knowing the truth. In a soft voice, she apologized, acknowledging that she had been hasty in her judgment. In that moment, the two cousins forged a deeper understanding. Cynthia promised to be there for Victory, offering support as she transitioned into her true self. For Victory, it was a moment of healing and validation, knowing that she didn't have to face this journey alone. Returning to school as girl instead of a boy came with its own set of challenges. Though the school administrators and a few understanding teachers supported her, the transition wasn't easy. Some classmates whispered behind her back, and a few even ridiculed her openly. Victory struggled to ignore the side comments, but each day felt like an emotional battle. But with Cynthia by her side, things became a bit more manageable. Cynthia, protective and confident, often stood up for Victory, challenging anyone who dared to mock her cousin. Slowly, a few friends who once knew her as boy began to accept Victory as she was, offering kindness and friendship that helped ease her anxiety. Victory threw herself into her studies, determined to finish her last year strong and show her doubters that she was more than the rumors or the past identity they had known. The journey was still difficult, but with each passing day, she grew more comfortable in her skin, taking small but powerful steps toward fully embracing her identity as a young woman. Back at home, Sonia dealt with her own challenges. She had to fend off continued pressure from her in-laws, who had become impatient waiting for Victory's 18th birthday and the reading of Nnamdi's will. Uncle Emeka was especially persistent, visiting frequently to argue his case and demand answers. Despite the relentless pressure, Sonia remained firm, insisting that they respect the legal process and wait until the will could be read. Late at night, Sonia reflected on all she had sacrificed for her daughter. Her life had been a series of choices shaped by love and desperation, and she hoped with all her heart that the legacy she had fought so hard to protect would soon belong fully to Victory. She knew that Victory's future still held many uncertainties, but Sonia had faith that the strength they had built together would see them through. Sonia watched her daughter's progress with pride and admiration, recognizing the young woman Victory was becoming. She felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that her sacrifices had helped her daughter discover her true self and thrive in the process. The final exams marked the end of a difficult chapter, and as they awaited the results, both mother and daughter felt a quiet anticipation for the new beginnings that lay ahead. Victory's 18th birthday was now just a few weeks away, and the air was thick with tension as her family continued to press for the reading of Nnamdi's will. Sonia remained careful, spending hours preparing Victory for the inevitable confrontation with her family. She taught her daughter about her father's business, explaining its value and significance, knowing that Victory would soon need to understand the legacy that was rightfully hers. Victory, now a young woman confident in her identity, felt ready for whatever lay ahead. She no longer felt like the uncertain child she had once been. The journey to self-acceptance had forged a strength within her, giving her the courage to face her family's scrutiny and prove that she was every bit worthy of her father's legacy. As the days counted down, Sonia and Victory shared quiet moments, reflecting on the path they had traveled together. They knew that the reading of the will could bring more conflict, but they were prepared to stand together as they always had. For Victory, turning 18 was not just a legal milestone, it was a triumph, a testament to her journey, and the promise of a new life on her own terms. On Victory's 18th birthday, Sonia organized a small but intimate celebration at home, inviting only a few close friends and family. The atmosphere was one of warmth and joy as Sonia and Victory welcomed their guests, each of whom had played a role in Victory's life journey so far. Cynthia was among the first to arrive, carrying a beautiful gift and an even bigger smile. The small group celebrated with laughter, toast, and even a little dancing. Sonia watched her daughter with pride, marveling at the confident young woman Victory had become. She knew this day would be one to remember, regardless of the challenges that awaited. Yet, beneath the laughter, both mother and daughter remained aware of the family meeting scheduled for the evening. The reading of Namdi's will would soon test the strength of their bond and their resilience. Victory decided to enjoy each moment of her celebration, savoring the love of those around her before facing her extended family scrutiny. That evening, Sonia and Victory welcomed Namdi's relative into the living room. The atmosphere was tense, as many of Namdi's relatives came, clearly prepared for a confrontation. Victory held her mother's hand tightly as they went back to sit down, feeling a mix of anticipation and anxiety. Among those gathered were Uncle Emeka, Cynthia's father, and several elders from Namdi's lineage. They looked at Victory with anger, having convinced themselves that the wealth and property should be passed on to the male heirs in the family. The family lawyer, a man who had been a close friend of Namdi, finally arrived and took his place at the head of the room. He carried with him a sealed envelope containing the will, and as he addressed the family, he made it clear that he intended to respect Namdi's final wishes in the letter. With a few formal words, he broke the seal and unfolded the document. The room fell silent, each person waiting with breath to hear what Namdi had decreed for his legacy. The lawyer began to read, outlining the specifics of Namdi's will. The initial part was standard, detailing the various assets, properties, and financial accounts that Namdi had accumulated over the years. As the lawyer continued, a murmur spread through the room as they listened to the terms. Namdi's will was clear and direct: all his wealth, properties, and business assets were to be inherited by his child, with full control transferred upon her 18th birthday. The family lawyer paused and emphasized that Namdi had made no stipulation regarding gender in his will, referring only to "my child" throughout the document. This choice of words revealed that Namdi had always intended his legacy to go to his firstborn, regardless of the gender. The lawyer concluded with one final statement from Namdi. He requested that his family honor his wishes and support his children, as he believed his legacy would be safe in their hands. A heavy silence filled the room. For a few long moments, nobody spoke as the implications settled over them. Victory looked around, seeing shock, anger, and disbelief on the faces of her father's relatives. Uncle Emeka's expression darkened as he realized that his ambitions had been thwarted by his late brother's foresight. Unable to contain his frustration, Uncle Emeka stood and addressed the room, questioning the validity of the will and accusing Sonia of deceit. He argued that it was unheard of in their tradition for a girl to inherit such wealth, insisting that the family's assets should be returned to Namdi's male relatives. Sonia, however, was prepared for this confrontation. She stood tall, challenging Emeka's claims and reminding him of the importance of honoring Namdi's wishes. "This is the 21st century," she stated firmly. Namdi knew his child, Victory, was capable of carrying on his legacy. His will is clear, and it was his choice. The lawyer intervened, explaining that the will was legally binding and that any attempt to contest it would likely fail in court. He advised the family to respect Namdi's wishes, as challenging it would only result in a costly and long legal battle. Frustrated but unable to argue further, Uncle Emeka sat down, his anger simmering beneath the surface. The elders, too, began to see the futility of opposing the will and gradually accepted the reality of the situation. As the meeting came to an end, Victory felt a profound sense of relief but also a new weight on her shoulders. She was now the official heir to her father's wealth and legacy, but the journey ahead was tasty. The family's resistance had reminded her that there were still many who would doubt her abilities and challenge her rights to this inheritance. Victory and Sonia shared a quiet evening together, reflecting on everything they had endured to reach this point. Sonia spoke to her daughter with pride, reassuring her that she was more than capable of honoring her father's memory. "Remember, Victory," she said softly, "your father believed in you. And so do I." With her mother's encouragement, Victory resolved to embrace her new role wholeheartedly. She knew there would be challenges, but her journey of self-discovery had equipped her with the strength she needed to face them. For the first time, she felt a genuine sense of purpose and responsibility. In the following months, Victory dedicated herself to learning everything she could about her father's business. With the help of mentors and her mother's guidance, she took on the responsibility of joining in managing the import-export empire her father had left behind. The work was intense, but she approached it with determination, eager to prove her worth. At the same time, she began exploring ways to modernize the business, bringing fresh ideas and innovative strategies to keep it competitive. Her intelligence and resilience began to shine, earning her respect from employees and associates who once doubted her. Sonia watched proudly as her daughter grew into a capable young woman who carried the family's legacy with grace and strength. Through this experience, Victory discovered a new layer of herself, a leader who commanded respect not because of her inheritance but because of her vision, dedication, and commitment to honoring her father's work. The challenges she had faced had transformed her into someone stronger, someone ready to carve her own path. As Victory settled into her new life of furthering her education and managing her father's business, she found herself growing closer to Cynthia, who continued to stand by her side through every hurdle. One afternoon, as they sat together discussing Victory's business ideas, Cynthia confided in her cousin about her own dreams and struggles. The bond between them deepened, grounded in shared experiences and mutual understanding. They laughed about childhood memories and talked openly about their hopes for the future. Through their conversations, Victory found comfort and perspective. Cynthia's friendship became a source of strength, reminding her that she was not alone in her journey. Together, they shared not only the legacy of their family but also the resilience to shape their own destinies. As the months turned to years, some relatives who had once viewed Victory with anger now saw her determination and success, and a few even offered their support. Sonia's tireless dedication to protecting her daughter's future had also earned her newfound respect among Namdi's kin. Uncle Emeka, though still resentful, eventually softened his stance, realizing that Victory was indeed capable of carrying on the family name with honor. Though their relationship remained strained, he chose to distance himself from open opposition, allowing Victory the space to grow without interference. As Victory continued to grow, she found herself embracing every aspect of her identity with newfound pride. She had fought through a double life, faced judgment, and overcome countless obstacles, emerging stronger and more self-assured than ever. She began to surround herself with people who valued her for who she truly was, building a circle of friends and family who celebrated her journey. In every aspect of her life, personal, professional, and familial, she carried the wisdom of her struggles, transforming each challenge into a source of strength. Her path had been anything but conventional, yet she cherished each step for shaping her into the woman she had become. With her legacy secure and her identity fully embraced, Victory looked forward to a future filled with hope, purpose, and a deeper understanding of the power of authenticity. She was no longer a boy by day and a girl by night. She was Victory, a young woman who had fought her way to the truth, living fully and proudly as herself. This is the end of the story. Does this traditional belief still thrive in your community? Drop your thoughts in the comment section, like and subscribe for more interesting and educating stories like this. Thank you for watching.